The mayor of DC is praising President Trump for his crime crackdown in her city, and he also sees an approval rating rise. So, again, to what she has to say and what DC residents are saying as well, and then we'll talk about the polling data. Let's check it out.
And we greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. The most significant thing that we are highlighting today is the area of crime that was most troubling for us in 2023. Now, we have driven it down over the last years, but I'm going to get my glasses so I can make sure I can see it correct.
Or have they, since that police commander in DC is under investigation for apparently giving false information, making it look like crime is less than what it is. See what happens.
But for carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
I mean, she's not wrong. People feel safer when there are less carjackings, less robbery, shootings, or whatever. I mean, the media wants to take the governors of these states or the mayors of these states, these cities, certain cities want to tell you that crime is going down. But if you have a shooting on your street, a drive-by, 2 people get killed, or your local Foot Locker has a smash and grab, you're not going to say crime is down in your city. That's not the reality on the streets. So this is a winning issue for the president. This is what an MSNBC guest had to say about this.
Purely political standpoint, Donald Trump on this issue believes he has the upper hand, and I think you're seeing that right now. I mean, we see a lot of Democrats talking about how, oh, this is authoritarian, right? But look, voters don't like overtly partisan power grabs, sure, but there's one thing they don't like even more, and that is feeling unsafe in their own neighborhoods. I mean, crime is a top issue for voters, especially in recent years, and it traditionally favors Republicans in their sort of tough on crime response. I mean, you guys have talked about how you think voters in New York believe crime is coming down, but if you look at polling nationwide, that is actually not the case. I mean, I was just looking at a poll yesterday, or I guess the day before when I was writing this piece, found that 70% of Americans thought crime was just as bad right now as it had been in recent years, or is actually getting worse, and something like 20% actually thought it was coming down. So when you think about voters and how they feel right now, Trump is really leaning in and sort of latching onto those fears, changing the subject away from things like Medicaid cuts or, you know, the midterms being a referendum on him. He's trying to move it back to
this race baiting fool Al Sharpton doesn't like what he's
crime.
hearing.
And I mean, you asked panelists, does he have the authority to do this, to go to Chicago, to put the National Guard in New York? I would contend that it's not about winning this fight. It's about the fight itself. He wants to be the one to tell voters, I'm tough on crime. What are you going to do? And what Democrats are doing right now is saying, oh, you don't have the authority and crime is down.
I mean, she's not wrong. I mean, this is a winning issue because everybody wants to feel safe. No matter if, look, there are going to be people that don't agree with the federal government and the National Guard stepping in and going into these cities, going to DC, specifically. But the bottom line is people want to be safe, and he's actually doing something about it. I saw an article on New York Post, and there were people who had, some people say, well, this is just for show. This is just for photo ops. Then he had some Democrat voters out of Seattle. One woman said she doesn't like Trump and she doesn't support him, but she doesn't feel safe going downtown. And then you had somebody say, I don't care. Make us feel safe. Protect us. And that's the way people feel. A lot of people just want to be safe in their cities. They want to feel safe walking outside of their home. And they want he's giving an immediate solution to it. Yeah. So this is what this nutty woman had to say. She is the vice president of the Vera Institute. She says that Americans don't really care about carjackings and migrant crime. Okay.
Those issues voters care about. Where does Trump go? Migrant crime, carjackings, the really lurid, awful stuff that is a crazy, crazy visual. Don't take the bait, because most Americans are more worried about how are we going to address mental health issues, the visible homelessness that we see on streets, and how do we deal with mental health and other issues that drive the sort of random incidents that scare all of us. That's what you should be talking about. That's where you should be focused. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans. And then go to the issues voters.
Do you know how
Where does
offensive
Trump
that
go?
is?
Migrant.
Sorry, do you know how offensive that is to the mother of Jocelyn Nungare, who was a 12-year-old girl in Houston and was attacked and raped and killed by two illegal aliens? And do you think that Americans don't care about migrant crime? What about all the other countless stories we heard over the years, over the past few years since after Joe Biden got put into office, where women were getting hurt and killed by illegals? And then to say carjackings don't matter, a woman today I heard a story today about a woman a 35-year mother who died because four idiots in DC actually stole a car, and then the police were told to pursue the car because the helicopters were going to find them, and they crashed into a woman and she died. Yeah. So you mean to tell me that Americans don't care about carjackings and migrant crime? What about Lincoln Riley? What about that? What about her family? So there's some detail before I get into what the DC residents are saying. The Vera Institute, takes money from the George Soros Open Society Foundation. They support defunding the police. I will leave this link in the box if you want to check this out. Vera is committed to dismantling the current culture of policing and working towards solutions that defund police and shift power to communities. Yeah, and this woman apparently makes $300,000 a year. So come on now. I mean, she's out of touch with the average American. She might live in a gated community or something, or in some area where she feels none of this. So away from this nut job, and then let's go into what the actual people on the streets have to say about what's going on in DC.
Right now I'm down here in Union Station, as you can see behind me. Yes. And I walked through Union Station. It was different. See, I'm from DC. I live here. So I can tell you, I can be honest. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was nice. I don't even want to leave. Union Station, they literally, it feels different. Like usually when I walk through, it's got this like darkness. It's like you're walking through some sort of demi hood at night. And now it feels more light, upbeat. It definitely feels safe. But see, I can say that because I'm from here. A lot of people that are here protesting, they're not from here. They don't even live here. So they wouldn't know on a day-to-day basis like I would. And
It's always funny when these morons go and they protest these certain places, and they don't even live in the city they're protesting in. They want to protest the troops, the National Guard in D.C., then you have citizens like this woman talking about how safe it feels. You have some whack job from Seattle or some other place that's not even near DC coming in and protesting. I mean, it's stupid.
some of the other DC natives. But yeah, I even saw U.S. Marshals up in Silver Spring. They rolled up on somebody. When I say they were stealthy, they were in regular cars. I'm not going to say too much.
All right, so stop that. It was 4 minutes long, but here's another one. You can find these all over X.
Washington. Thank you, Trump. You can now come and check out the monuments, get something to eat, and check out the sites in Washington, D.C. and not get robbed, carjacked, or killed by somebody who looks like me. Thank you, Trump.
Yeah. So what do these two people I just showed you have in common? They're black. And he just said you can come here, you can come to DC now without getting carjacked or mugged or killed by somebody who looks like him. This institute, Vera Institute and all these other organizations, they support BLM and they support the cause. They say they care about blacks, but for example, Mayor Johnson out of Chicago, super pro-black mayor, super woke, and there are black on black crimes all the time in Chicago. We'll get into Chicago in a separate video, but I want to talk about DC today. But to his point, I mean, he makes a great point with what he just said. His point is that you can come here without getting mugged or shot or killed. And you're seeing those things happen all the time in these big blue cities, and these Democrat mayors don't seem to care about the very people they say they care about, who they want votes from. Yeah. All right, I have one more for you before I get into the polling data.
So President Trump has not even had control over Washington, D.C. for 30 days. And I have on my For You page video after video showing D.C., specifically Union Station, and how clean and safe it is. People don't understand how big of a deal it is, specifically for Union Station, because there is a bridge, whether it's the bypass, it's either 95, 395, or 495, where the homeless, as well as people who are abusing drugs, as well as the drug dealers, they just squat. It's clean. It's all gone. This was also an underpass bridge where people would throw their wastes. So you would drive on the main road, and to the left and right of you is nothing but trash. It's all clean. People don't understand how big of a deal this is, because the Capitol is right there within like a 6 or 7 minute walk. And then also local residents, they did not like walking there, whether in the daytime or the evening. Some people would take taxis just to avoid any type of encounters. And people have been talking about cleaning this up for a decade. And you mean to tell me President Trump hasn't even had control for 30 days and he cleaned it all up?
Makes a great point. She makes a great point. People were afraid to go in the daytime. You shouldn't be afraid to go anywhere in the daytime, let alone at night. And it always blew them. It's always seemed crazy to me that the nation's capital, when I hear about all these crimes going on in D.C. and all these in these rough areas, and you go just a couple blocks. Look, I've never been to D.C. I went to the airport once. It was the Ronald Reagan Airport, but I never actually have hung out in D.C. itself. But I heard you can just go a couple of blocks and then it's not that safe. You can go down the street a few miles away or whatever it is, and it's dangerous. You turn around the corner and you have, some gang activity or carjackings or whatever. It shouldn't be like that in the nation's capital. This is not a partisan issue. This is bipartisan. Left and right should both agree on this. It's crazy stuff. He's only been in control of DC for less than 30 days, like she said. And he's already made a huge difference. All right, let's check out this polling data as I wrap this up here. What Americans think about Trump's handling of crime according to new poll. This is from AP, the Associated Press. As armed National Guard troops patrol the nation's capital as part of an unprecedented federal takeover of Washington's police department, handling crime is now a relative strength for President Donald Trump, according to the latest AP NORC poll. Americans are generally not happy about the Republican president's handling of issues like immigration and the economy, but are far more positive about his tough on crime approach, according to the survey. In immigration, the border is shut down. The numbers are like 95% lower than what they were when Joe Biden was president. So you're going to have a big divide with Republicans greatly approve of what he's doing. The independents are a little bit lower, but they still approve. or they approve more than Democrats do, and Democrats don't approve at all of what he's doing. So it's somewhere in the middle, like 50%. Anyway, I'll get back to this. Indeed, the vast majority of Americans, 81%, see crime as a major problem in large cities, a concern Trump has seized on as he has deployed the National Guard to the District of Columbia and threatened to expand that model to cities across the country. Despite that perception, data shows that violent crime in D.C. is at a 30-year low, but Trump's approach appears to be helping him, at least for the moment. His overall approval rating has increased slightly from 40 to 45%. I mean, slightly. I think when it comes to polling, I think 5% is pretty good. But the poll shows there is less public support for federal takeovers of local police departments, suggesting opinions could shift over the coming weeks or months, depending how aggressively Trump pursues his threats. For now, many Republicans in particular feel extreme action needs to be taken. Even as statistics show violent crime is down across the nation, in Washington and across the nation following a coronavirus pandemic era spike. But like I said before, how much of these cities reporting crimes, how much of that is legit? How much of that is legit with the DC police commander under investigation for apparently saying crime is lower than what it is? So yeah, about damn time that somebody did something, said Charles Arnold, 87 years old, a lifelong Republican who lives in San Diego. Arnold, a retired electronics technician and veteran who served in the Navy, said that it had been jarring to see the National Guard being used for domestic law enforcement on U.S. soil, but that action seemed to be necessary. That's not how armed forces. That's not what armed forces are for. They shouldn't be there. They shouldn't have to be there. The police should be allowed to be police. I detest the thought that it needs to be done. Handling crime is a strength for Trump. Here's some more polling data. About half of U.S. adults, 53%, say they approve of Trump's handling of crime, the poll finds. That's higher than his approval rating on the economy, immigration, and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which are in line with his overall approval rating. Trump's approach on crime is similarly popular among white and Hispanic adults, with roughly half of each group saying they approve of the way he's handling the issue. Black adults, however, are substantially less likely to say they're on board with Trump's approach to crime, with just 27% in favor. Maybe, 27% of this poll said that, but you go to the streets of D.C., and how many are in support of this? When it's directly in your city, when you're seeing an impact, a positive impact, you may feel a little different. Trump also garners much support from independents on crime other than other issues. Roughly half of independents approve of his handling of crime, compared with about 3 in 10 who approve of his handling of the economy, immigration, and Russia-Ukraine war. Most think crime is a major problem for large cities. There's a broad agreement among Americans that crime is a significant issue in large cities, even with indecent numbers in decline. That belief is especially profound among Republicans, nearly all of whom see crime as a significant problem in large cities. Roughly 7 in 10 independents and Democrats agree. Americans who live in urban areas also are more likely to say crime is a major problem in their own communities. Yes. Here it goes. This is what I was talking about in Seattle. They include Tina Parker, 30 years old, a liberal Democrat who lives in the suburbs of Seattle. Parker is dismayed by what Trump is doing in Washington, D.C. and his presidency overall, but nonetheless calls crime a major problem. I don't feel safe going to Seattle, especially as a woman, at least not by myself. Okay, so this might have been in the New York Post article as well, but either way, here it is. She said she was sexually harassed on a train several years ago. There was a deadly shooting at a strip mall near where she lives, and there have been several times she said where she has been followed home while walking down the street. While she thinks crime needs to be addressed, she believes Trump's approach is misguided and dangerous. Well, what he's doing is a waste of resources, and he's not really attacking the real problem. It's creating a real divide, and I think that's a gross lack of respect and trust toward the citizens. This is what I don't understand, how these people can say they don't feel safe. She has been followed by creeps on the way home. She doesn't feel safe. There's a shooting near where she lives, but yet she's criticizing the president, saying this is a waste of time. He's not really tackling the issue. But what is the solution? I want her to tell me what the solution is. I mean, it's like this woman I found this on X. A woman said she broke her arm and she was carjacked, but she wants Trump's troops out of D.C. I mean, you can't. These people are nuts. These people are psychos. But I don't understand how. Okay, so let's say the National Guard, hypothetically speaking, was sent to Seattle, and then crime went down 50% of where she lives, and she suddenly feels safe walking around at night. Is she going to say that the president's actions are misguided and they're dividing people? I just don't understand. Like, what Trump is doing is an immediate solution. It's tackling the issue right now. While you can work on these other issues like legislation or whatever, but what has her governor done for her? What has her mayor done for her to make her feel safe? It's crazy stuff. That said, let's keep going. That sentiment is shared by Mark Hackle, 49 years old, an information technology director who lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and was a lifelong Republican until 2016, when he felt the party. He left the party because it was dismayed by President Trump. He's now independent. I think crime is always an issue that needs to be addressed. Amar is pro-law and order, so to speak. My raw emotion is I'm horrified by it. We're not supposed to allow the active military to function in the borders of the United States. I'm going to scroll down, go down to what this guy has to say. David Garrett, 62 years old, a maintenance technician who lives in rural Narvon, Pennsylvania. What Trump is doing is spot on. Bring it on, he said. Protect us. So you have people like that. That man right there says, you know what? Just make us safe. If you have to send in troops in certain areas and get tough with these mayors and these governors, then so be it. People want to feel safe in their homes. They want to feel safe walking down the street. They want to feel safe going. They want to feel safe going to the store. They want to feel safe going to the park. I mean, that's just how everybody should feel. So I'm big on law and order and being safe and not having to worry about idiots, carjackings, and mugging you and things like that. So I'm all for it. But yeah, I'll leave that right there. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Take care.